tensions are about to explode in North America. Canada, a steadfast ally of the United States, finds itself on the brink of a monumental shift. Under increasing pressure from Washington's trade tariffs and harsh diplomatic frictions, Ottawa is now considering whether to scrap a staggering $13 billion deal for F-35 fighter jets. Could the ongoing US-Canada relationship take a nosedive? What does this mean for military cooperation and defense readiness? For nearly 2 years, Canada has braced itself amid turbulent diplomatic storms. Tariffs imposed on Canadian products, from automotive parts to steel, have ignited a firestorm of resentment and debate within Parliament. Are we too dependent on our neighbor? Those haunting questions echo through Ottawa as officials ponder the harsh realities of unilateral trade conflicts. The warmth of the diplomatic relationship has turned downright frosty. In a revealing interview on March 12, Prime Minister Mark Carney sounded the alarm. "We cannot trust the United States on everything," he declared. His words resonate with a sense of urgency. The very future of the F-35 project looms large in the minds of Canadian lawmakers, and skepticism is building. Defense Minister Bill Blair echoed this sentiment during a press conference on March 14, hinting at a potential reassessment of the F-35 agreement. Could Canada be eyeing alternatives to American-made aircraft? As the discussions intensify, whispers of European aircraft options begin to swirl in the air. The Eurofighter Typhoon and French Rafale jets are suddenly on Canada's radar, igniting speculation about shifting loyalties. Remember the early 2010s when this debate briefly surfaced? At that time, the allure of American integration won out. But conditions have changed dramatically. Could Canada really turn its back on long-standing partnerships in favor of European suppliers? The stakes couldn't be higher. With approximately 88 F-35s on the line, this decision is not merely about jets, it's about national defense and diplomatic identity. As Ottawa focuses on strategic alternatives, the sentiment of not putting all eggs in one basket echoes louder than ever. Canadian leaders stress that resilience is paramount, and a number of alternatives are emerging. Allies from Europe are quick to pitch their offerings, promising lower maintenance costs and adaptability to the Canadian climate. But can these aircraft truly rival the fifth-generation stealth capabilities of the F-35? Public opinion is starting to shift, emboldened by the belief that Canada should not bow to pressure. As the fear of losing credibility looms, diplomats navigate a precarious landscape. The question remains, will Canada decisively cut ties with American defense contracts or find a diplomatic resolution? The timeline is tight, decisions may come as soon as 2 months from now. What happens next could irrevocably alter transatlantic relations. If Canada chooses to move forward with European aircraft, could it signal to the world that it is diversifying its defense alliances? Or will the US retaliate with even steeper tariffs that plunge the two countries into further quarrel? The growing unrest among the Canadian populace, angered by trade wars, shapes the narrative gripping the nation. Diplomatic corridors are buzzing, and every word from Ottawa is being scrutinized. With potential repercussions looming, is Canada prepared to take a leap of faith toward Europe, or will it yield to the US's towering influence? Stay tuned, global dynamics are shifting at breakneck speed, and the next twist could arrive sooner than anyone anticipates. What will Canada's ultimate choice be? In a surprising twist of events, Canada's Defense Minister Bill Blair announced that the nation is seriously considering alternatives to the United States F-35 stealth fighter jet. This announcement comes amid heightened tensions with Washington and a growing sentiment in Ottawa that reliance on a single military supplier may no longer serve Canada's best interests. Already, discussions are underway about European options, with contenders like the Eurofighter Typhoon and the French Rafale entering the spotlight. Blair's revelation, made during a press conference on March 14, sent shockwaves through diplomatic corridors. Many in the Canadian government are now asking, is it time to scrap the F-35 deal altogether? It's a provocative thought, especially given the historical context. Just a decade ago, Canada chose the F-35 for its advanced integration capabilities with U.S. forces. The world outside the press conference buzzes with speculation. Could Ottawa really shift towards European models? As the spotlight shifts, the reality of Canada's geographical proximity to the U.S. complicates matters. Yes, the American military-industrial complex has historically provided essential logistical support. Yet, dissenting voices in Canadian politics are growing louder, insisting that dependence is not the answer. We won't be cornered into accepting policies that don't serve us, one official asserted, underscoring a newfound resolve. European manufacturers are eager to step into the fray, championing their aircraft as viable options. The Eurofighter Typhoon Consortium, for instance, touts its versatility and lower maintenance costs, while French company Dassault believes their Rafale can thrive in Canada's diverse climate. However, can any of these options truly rival the stealth prowess of the F-35? The stakes are high, with Canada's military modernization hanging in the balance. The recent tariffs imposed by the U.S., targeting key Canadian industries like dairy and steel, have only intensified resentment. If this is how we're treated, why partner with them, critics question. This anger has infused the defense conversation with urgency. What does it mean for a nation to assert its autonomy in the face of economic pressure? At this moment, as murmurs of cancellation circulate, the landscape is poised for a radical transformation. Will Canada take the plunge and embrace European alternatives, fundamentally reshaping its defense strategy? Or will a last-minute diplomatic intervention save the F-35 deal? The answer remains elusive, but it's clear that every decision made in these turbulent times will redefine not just military alliances, but future trade dynamics too. In this high-stakes game of geopolitics, the next move could be monumental. In this gripping saga of power, betrayal, and rebirth, the French company Dassault pitched the Rafale as a sleek savior, rugged enough to brave Canada's icy winds and biting cold. Feel the frost nipping at your skin as pilots envision soaring through blizzards, the engines rumble a defiant roar against Mother Nature. Yet, the F-35 beckoned like an exclusive club, its fifth-generation stealth tech a ticket to the elite circle of nations. Picture the United States, the United Kingdom, Italy, Australia, Norway, and Denmark, shrouded in airy invisibility, sharing secrets and seamless logistics that promised unbreakable unity. Why stay out? That's the dizzying allure for Canada, craving that insider's edge where alliances feel like a warm handshake in a room thick with strategy. But could this bond shatter under the hammer of growing doubts? Is Canada on the verge of ditching the F-35 dream, slapping the mighty US in the face and cozying up to European rivals instead? Imagine the shockwave, a $13 billion punch that could leave Ottawa breathless and Washington reeling. From this angle, the tariffs clashing like thunder, the trade storms whipping up fury, and Trump's shadow casting doubt have rocked Canada's heart, eroding faith like cracking ice underfoot. Politicians whisper louder now, if America treats us this harshly, why cling to their every sword? Voices rise, fueled by the iron weight of economic wisdom from figures like Mark Carney, tilting the scales toward Europe's embrace. Can we afford to pour our blood and treasure into a neighbor that's turned prickly? The air hums with rebellion. Smells of brewing conflict, as Ottawa contemplates a bold pivot. Does this seismic shift spell doom or dawn for Canada, with Europe holding out a tantalizing lifeline? That $13 billion stretches far enough for about 88 EF-35s, ushered in around 2026 to finally swap out the aging CF-18thers. Envision the early 2030s, skies alive with new wings chasing sunsets, replacing the old guard in a symphony of thrust and metal. But if Uncle Sam's grip proves too suffocating, Ottawa must scramble, unraveling contracts anew, re-evaluating every bolt and byte from the ground up. The grind of recalibration feels like dragging a weight through mud, Avis ion sensory overload of data and doubt. And yet, the question gnaws, does severing ties with our southern kin make any sense? The rage burns hot from recent spats, where Trump slapped tariffs on dairy's creamy allure and steel's unyielding strength. Relations frayed like worn cables, edges sharp and sparking. This fury hurls the F-35 axe higher than ever, a looming guillotine that could cleave alliances apart. What European knights in shining armor could ride in to rescue Canada's skies, matching the F-35's untouchable edge? Take the Eurofighter Typhoon, forged by the United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, and Spain, a quartet's bravado in the air. Rafale, France's darling, whispers of elegance honed for global gambles. And the Swedish Gripensettled, sleek and versatile, awaiting their call. These fourth or four-and-a-half generation wonders carry the scent of innovation, engines thrumming with promise. Yet the F-35 towers as a giant. Its stealth a ghost story against rivals. Canada's gaze fixed on this leap, eyeing the beyond, but alternatives buzz like competitors, F-15s, EF-FI-18 Super Hornet, Eurofighter Typhoon Tranche 4, Rafale EF-F4. None fully eclipse the invisible cloak, but here the public's murmur, satisfaction and savings might tilt the balance, the cold calculation a soothing balm amid chaos. On March 15, Defense Secretary Bill Blair's words sliced the silence, echoing through halls where air felt charged with tension. Your touch on the deal's fine threads could fray under partners' shadows. Imagine the pressure, like a vice clamp tight, forcing Ottawa to Plan B. Foreign Minister echoes chimed in mere hours later, if tariffs tighten further, we'll hunt for strategic paths anew. Headlines blared like cannon fire, farewell to the F-35? No axe has fallen yet, but doors creak open, hinges groaning with possibility. The scent of change lingers, electric and urgent. What unpredictable turn might shatter this fragile mirror next? Summary of the previous part. On March 15, Canada's Defense Secretary Bill Blair emphasized the impact of trade relations on defense negotiations. As tensions escalate due to tariffs imposed by the United States, Canada's foreign minister signaled a potential shift away from the F-35 deal, with discussions of European alternatives beginning to surface. This opens up questions about Canada's future cooperation with American defense. As tensions mount, a curious question arises: is Canada really ready to say goodbye to the F-35 program? The whispers from Parliament suggest a strategic pivot towards Europe. With mounting discontent over tariffs, public sentiment seems to favor reassessing defense partnerships, evoking shockwaves across diplomatic landscapes. What if Canada, a steadfast ally of the US, decides to break away from the shared military reliance? This hypothetical shift isn't mere speculation. Defense Minister Bill Blair, in a candid moment, hinted at exploring alternatives if the tightening pressure from Washington continues. Media reports buzzed with headlines hinting at a farewell to the F-35, igniting fervent discussions about Canada's defense priorities. The U.S. Department of Defense is reportedly on alert, fearing the significant fallout this maneuver could cause. Could a Canadian withdrawal from the F-35 program signal the unraveling of a deep-seated alliance? The stakes couldn't be higher. For years, the F-35 has been central to Canada's military modernization, yet now, alliances could shift. What lies ahead if Canada chooses to embrace European-made aircraft like the Eurofighter Typhoon or the French Rafale? Decision-makers in Ottawa are weighing the implications carefully, with the understanding that such changes could alter transatlantic ties profoundly. The U.S. is known for retaliating sharply, and there are fears that a pivot could spark significant tensions. But there's more at play here than just military hardware. Discussions are emerging about broadening Canada's trade horizons, potentially courting alliances with the European Union and boosting defense collaboration with countries like the United Kingdom. Dependence on the US has left Canada vulnerable in recent crises, prompting Canadian experts to advocate for finding an independent path forward. As debates kindle around the validity of keeping the multi-billion-dollar F-35 deal alive, the sentiment seems to lean towards forging a new identity on the global stage. A cancellation of the deal would resonate deeply, a declaration that Canada opts for European partnerships over traditional American ones. The question lingers: will Canada strengthen its own defense industry or forge new alliances? With strong public support, many Canadians are now rallying behind the call to turn away from American pressures that have stung their economy. Critics warn that such a move would be costly, but the prevailing view is one of empowerment and defiance. Will Canada's government take the plunge, or will the impending pressure from the US reformulate their stance? As the minutes tick by, everyone is holding their breath. Will Canada truly scrap the F-35 deal amidst escalating tensions, or will the United States relent and ease the tariffs? The world watches, and with each passing moment, the possibility of dramatic change looms larger. The question now is, can the US afford to stand by idly while Canada plots a course into uncharted waters? In recent days, Canada's diplomatic relationship with the United States has reached new heights of tension. As Ottawa considers the potential cancellation of a monumental $13 billion deal for F-35 fighter jets, the question lingers: what's next? This strategic pivot may not just be about aircraft, it could redefine Canada's alliances. Could it be that Canada is actually preparing to abandon the F-35 in favor of European alternatives? The Canadian public, feeling the sting of tariffs imposed by the United States, is now rallying around the idea of rejecting American pressure altogether. They insist they will not bow down even at significant cost. While critics warn that scrapping such a colossal contract could hurt Canada's interests too, a majority feels that forging ties with Europe is far more sensible than surrendering to a single ally. Recent statements from US officials add fuel to the fire. They worry that if Canada presses ahead with the cancellation, the costs to bilateral relations could be steep. As diplomatic channels heat up, many are left pondering how long can Canada maintain this tough stance? Insights from Canadian leaders suggest the nation is reassessing its options. With each update from Prime Minister Mark Carney or Defence Minister Bill Blair, the stakes rise. Sometimes soft, sometimes sharp, the signals from Ottawa keep observers guessing. In the next 2 months, Canada must decide. Will it scrap the F-35 deal and face potential retaliation in the form of fresh tariffs, or can a compromise be reached? The underlying tension hints at much more than just a military transaction. Discussions are swirling about trade and territorial integrity. Can European manufacturers step in with fighter jets that meet Canadian needs, akin to the F-35's advanced capabilities? Will there be a significant rupture between Canada and the United States? Or is it possible that the US will relent, lifting tariffs in a surprising diplomatic turn? As the days unfold, the fast-paced developments could lead to unexpected headlines, perhaps Canada formally withdrawing from the F-35 program, or maybe a surprising concession from the Trump administration. The geopolitical landscape is shifting, and all eyes are on Canada's next move. In the previous segment, we explored Canada's rising diplomatic tensions with the United States. Shields clanging like furious thunder in a storm-tossed sky. The biting scent of burning alliances filling the air. Is all this noise just a grand bargaining tactic? Let's see which way Ottawa swings next. Imagine the weight of history pressing down, like a crushing avalanche.